Hello, friends, and thank you as always for visiting the Legend Sports Universe YouTube channel, the Legend Sports Universe, where legends play forever. Something new this year, year two of the Franchise Stars Football League. I will be putting together a highlight show covering each of the games of the week, which will hopefully help viewers and myself, honestly, keep in tune with what is going on here in the second season of the FSFL. I did a prior short video about changes in how the FSFL is being handled this year, and I'm thrilled with how the game is playing. As I recently spoke about in my interview with Sports Games Journal, I've long resisted doing work in this hobby beyond my actual roster creation and ratings formulas. Stuff like editing videos, writing scripts, etc. But I felt like this could possibly really benefit the FSFL. And though time consuming, I got to admit, I had a ton of fun putting this together. Hopefully, you'll all enjoy it. Some great matchups on the docket here in week one. Let's take a look. Week one, year two, in the league where they play for pay. Start off in Pittsburgh, but the game of the week, arguably the league's most disappointing team in year one, the Pittsburgh Steelers, opening up year two, hosting the rival Cleveland Browns and the league's most valuable player from year one, Jim Brown. Pair of rough and tumble defenses would seemingly set the stage for a low scoring affair, and the fans, well, they got more fireworks than they expected. We open up opening drive. Browns march down the field. Phil Nelson finds his tight end Ozzie Newsome in the back of the end zone for a 5-yard strike, and Cleveland would take a quick 7-0 lead. Still in the first quarter, the waning moments, and it's Nelson again. This time, Nelson drops a floater down the left sideline for Greg Pruitt out of the backfield. 37-yard pickup for Pruitt, who had a fine game for the Browns, 87 yards on the ground. In addition to this grab, gets down deep into Steelers territory before he's forced out of bounds. But the Browns on the move once again. They'd settle for 3 on that drive, but they drive again. Steelers having a hard time getting any kind of traction early. Midway through the second, Nelson drops back again, second and goal from the 4, tries to squeeze this one into a crowded corner of the end zone, and Troy Polamalu is in front and takes it to the house, 101 yards, pick 6. Just like that, Steelers on the board, right back in it. Nelson, an ill-advised throw. They receive lots of traffic there in the corner. I'm not even sure which of those receivers that was intended for, but Polamalu, nothing but Pennsylvania daylight ahead of him for the touchdown. Let's get a Matt Barr field goal to make it 14-7, but the Steelers will be on the move again. 3.5 minutes left in the half. Willie Parker tries to get outside. Clay Matthews stuffs him, and Myles Garrett makes a terrific play here. Reaching around from the black side, Garrett punches it out. Cleveland falls on it with the ball in Pittsburgh territory, time on the clock before halftime. They'd make the Steelers pay. A similar play to the Polamalu pick 6, but this time far less traffic, and Nelson finds Jarvis Landry for the touchdown. Nice job by Landry here, getting the feet down for the score. We'll close in on that one. Well done by Jarvis Landry. So the Browns are in control. Roethlisberger, the starter here in year two after replacing Bradshaw late in the disappointing year one, nips this one into traffic for his big tight end Eric Green. Sandwiched, but he holds on at the goal line. The Steelers strike to get within 6, 20-14 as we head into halftime. Pick up here with second half action. Browns will get another Barr field goal to stretch the lead to 9. But midway through, it's Pittsburgh on the move again. Roethlisberger here hits Plaxico Burress, who is stood up by Ernie Kellerman. Clifford Johnson, as Garrett did earlier, pokes it free. Clarence Scott falls on it, and the Steelers would turn the ball over again. And again, the Browns would make them pay. Here's Nelson dropping back. It's a short slant over the middle. That's Paul Warfield finding his way into the end zone, 7 yards out. Nelson would throw 3 touchdowns on the day, and the Browns would open it up. It is now 31-14 Cleveland. Steelers desperately in need of something and unable to come up with big stops on the defensive side of the ball. They would get down the field again, though, early in the fourth. Here, Roethlisberger would drop back. He'd look out towards the sideline. Dick Hope makes the grab. He would slip in along the sideline, turning the corner, gets inside the pylon for the touchdown. And once again, we are down to a 10-point game, 31-21. Cleveland still in front. Ali Parker would carry for 78 yards on the day, and he's normally very sure-handed. But he coughed it up earlier, and he does so again here in Steelers territory. And again, it's Pepper Johnson who forces it loose. Cleveland in business inside the Steelers' 20-yard line. Terrible situation here for Pittsburgh. Another thing the Steelers did very well in this one, however, was contain Jim Brown. Here he tries to get outside, and the Steelers swarm. Lambert, Blount, and company limited Brown to only 26 yards on the ground in this one. Browns held to a field goal once more, 34-21, but still with Pittsburgh feeling they had a chance. Inside 4 minutes, there you see Roethlisberger again, this time to Antonio Brown. Through the eye of the needle. Steelers would get within 6 and close the deficit to 34-28. 1:11 on the clock, and again it's Barr. This time from 47 yards out, he would hit 5 field goals on the day. This was the last of them, stretching the Browns' lead back to 9, 37-28. Right back down the field, though, Roethlisberger and the Steelers would charge. And here, it's Plaxico Burress who had that costly fumble earlier. From 31 yards out, 4th touchdown of the day for Roethlisberger to his 4th different receiver. And the hope of an onside kick would live on for the Steelers. Gary Anderson would hit the extra point and make it a 2-point game, 37-35, 21 ticks left on the clock. Anderson lines up, he chops this one, and it's Landry, who had the TD reception earlier on, catching this one to put the finishing touches on a wild win for the Browns in Pittsburgh. Cowher will not be happy about this one for the Steelers. They get 4 touchdown throws from Ben. They hold Brown to 26 yards rushing. They get a pick 6 from Polamalu and still lose. 3 turnovers, all fumble, sloppy with the football. Browns also converted 63% of their third down chances, 12 of 19. Too much talent on the defensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh to let that happen. But it did, and they fall to Cleveland 37-35. The Steelers weren't the league's biggest disappointment in year one. That title goes to the Green Bay Packers, presumed to be a Legends Bowl contender. They missed the playoffs entirely. With a losing record, they changed quarterbacks to Bart Starr from Brett Favre late in the season, and on the whole were disappointing. They get to open against a Lions squad that couldn't get out of its own way, particularly offensively a year ago. Much of that falling on the shoulders of Scott Mitchell. Coach Dan Campbell doesn't believe Rodney Peete gives them a better chance at this point, so for now, it's up to Mitchell to play well enough to keep the job. Opening drive, the Lions waste no time shooting themselves in the foot. Pass interference call on Chris Spielman moves the Packers close, and Starr hits his tight end Mark Chamora here for the score. And it's quickly 7-0 Green Bay. This is Starr's team now, so it's a good start for Bart here in year two. Chamora finds the little pocket there, gets himself across the goal line before taking the shot. Lions ball still in the first. Here's Mitchell finding Herman Moore down the field. Mitchell, lefty, throwing, rolling right. Tough throw, but he gets it there. Moore reels it in. Down inside the 30. That would set up a Jason Hansen field to make it a 7-3 game. Packers' next possession, Spielman atones for his PI call earlier. Picks off Starr here. Hart trying to squeeze this one in too perfectly to Jim Taylor. Bad decision there, the kind of play that cost Favre his job a year ago. Spielman there you see locked in right there with Taylor. Just an ill-advised pass from Bart Starr. We'll get back to Taylor more later on. He was big in this game. Mitchell drops back, and part of his problems last season were that he was regularly under heavy pressure. That hasn't changed. Willie Davis blasts him from behind for the sack. Obviously, nothing Mitchell can do under that kind of pressure. Same drive, and this time it's Santana Dotson straight up the chute. Mitchell pancaked again. Hard for a QB to do anything when they're facing that. Packers would get Mitchell 4 times on the day. Davis would get him twice. And Green Bay would be in Mitchell's face throughout this one here. A long day for Scott Mitchell in Detroit. Late in the half, Mitchell drops this pass perfectly, though. Terry Barr along the sideline. Great job there to keep his feet in. He can't get into the end zone, but he has the Lions banging on the door. Look at the grab there by Barr. There you see left foot down, right foot touches before he's driven out. That sets up this. Dexter Bussey from the 1 pounds it in, and the Lions would take the 10-7 lead. Starr with time before the half. Here he hits Taylor out of the backfield over the middle. Taylor was a force in this one on the ground, going over 170 yards on the day. Contributes through the air as well. That sets up this over the middle. James Lofton, who is hit but finds his way across the goal line to put Green Bay up 14-10. Packers would stop the clock, forcing the Lions to go 3 and out, and would get the ball back in time for a Hail Mary. And here's a call you don't see often. Lions defensive back James Hunter gets flagged for pass interference in the scrum on the last second chuck from Starr, giving Green Bay the ball on the 1. Packers elect to settle for 3 instead of getting greedy, and they'd head into the tunnel 17-10. Lions coach Dan Campbell would linger for a while, letting the officials know what he thought about that call. Both sides would get field goals in the third quarter, and we pick it up in the fourth. 20-13 Green Bay. Packers from their own 48. And here's a strike to Lofton, second touchdown of the game. This one 52 yards as he beats the very talented corner Lem Barney deep down the right-hand side. Starr hits him in stride, and Green Bay extends the lead to 27-13. A little under 6 minutes left now. Lions trying to claw their way back into it, and it's Mitchell looking downfield, but Jair Alexander goes up and picks it off. Bit underthrown there from Mitchell. Alexander snags that one to pretty much wrap it up. Mitchell dejectedly walks off to the sideline, still 27-13. We mentioned Taylor's terrific day before. He gets himself into the end zone to put a capper on that day. Touchdown run to blow it open. Lions would get a garbage TD in the final minute, but the Packers, looking sharper than they looked at any point in year one, roll in Detroit 34-20. Starr 20 of 36 for 256 and 3 scores. Taylor, as we mentioned, the terrific day. Lofton 7 catches for 96 and a pair of scores. Ray Nitschke 17 tackles on the day, 3 for a loss. Billy Sims 24 for 71. Herman Moore went over the 100-yard receiving effort in the loss for the Lions. And once again, look like they're going to have a tough row to hoe here in year 2. Chiefs and Broncos, an AFC West matchup. The Chiefs coming off an 11-6 campaign that saw them knocked out by Cleveland in the wild card game, while the Broncos missed the playoffs at 9-8. These two teams split their season series last year, the home team winning each time. Pair of top five defenses, led by Derek Thomas and Tom Jackson, we head out to Denver, and it's Steve DeBerg, solid a year ago, finding Tyreek Hill over the middle. Hill breaks it 69 yards and less than 90 seconds in. It's 7-0 Kansas City. That's how it would stay until about 2 minutes into the second quarter. Broncos driving, Jake Plummer, an up and down campaign for Plummer in year one, chose the good side, scrambling in from 11 yards out to get the Broncos even at 7-7. We mentioned these two defenses very stingy a year ago, and here the Broncos show it from their side. Third and goal from the 2, Priest Holmes gets stuffed. Harrison Butker would come on, bang the 22-yard chippy home to put Kansas City up 10-7. Final minute of the first half, Chiefs driving again, and Carlos Carson gets the ball here from Steve DeBerg, but he has it jarred loose by Braxton and Rizzo, who sandwich him. For the apparent fumble, Carson was ruled down. Chiefs would settle for 3 and head into the tunnel. Still leading 13-7. There you see the shot there. This hard-hitting Broncos defense. Carson clearly down there. Brown forces the fumble, and they head into the tunnel with the lead. Opening drive of the second half, it's Plummer looking deep downfield, but the only thing he finds is Johnny Robinson. 3 interceptions a year ago. He gets his first of the year here. 19-yard interception return. The Chiefs are in business after a 33-yard strike from DeBerg to Hill and a penalty. He would find Hill again. 3 plays later, a 7-yard touchdown. Second touchdown of the game for Hill. Chiefs would bang home the 2-point conversion and get the lead up to 21-7. Midway through the third, it's Plummer again, looking downfield, this time for Lionel Taylor. But Eric Berry reads it beautifully, jumps it, makes the pick, and the Broncos would never threaten again in what was a very frustrating day for Jake Plummer and the Broncos. 24-7 Chiefs with the victory. The Broncos only 11 first downs. They only made it into the red zone once. Strong day for DeBerg, 18 of 32, a pair of touchdowns, 254 yards. Plummer completes less than 50% of his passes. Mike Anderson can never really get anything going on the ground for Denver, who just never really got anything going at all. Big day for Tyreek Hill. 8 for 178, Priest Holmes over the 100-yard mark. And the Chiefs get the 24-7 victory here in Week 1. In the AFC West, where the division champion Raiders and Marcus Allen, the league's second leading rusher in year 1, visit the San Diego Chargers and the man who threw for the most yards a year ago, Tobin Rote. After a scoreless first stanza, we head to the second, and that's Chargers rookie Paul Lowe, who gets some help from his line, getting ushered across the goal line for a 5-yard touchdown run. Chargers strike first. It's 7-0 San Diego. Following drive, Ken Stabler drops back, and Junior Seau makes his way to bring him down. Seau, 9 sacks a year ago, not really thought of as a pass rusher. The Chargers' terrific defensive line requires so much attention, it opens up chances for Seau to get to the quarterback, and he took plenty of advantage last season. He starts off this year doing the same. Later in the second quarter, it's Allen who rips off a 25-yard run here behind the sensational Raiders offensive line. Raiders line suffered some injury issues a year ago, but Shell, Upshaw, Otto, Wisniewski, Kennedy, fearsome group that needs to stay healthy. Allen got a ton of work a year ago, and John Madden hopes to spell him a bit more this year here in year 2. This man, rookie Napoleon Kaufman, should get much of those extra carries. He carries this one in, 13 yards out, and we are tied at 7 in San Diego. Final 2 minutes of the half, Chargers trying to get down the field, but Howie Long reacquaints himself with Tobin Rote for the sack. First 2 on the day for Long. surprisingly mustered only 6.5 a year ago. Chargers would punt and Stabler would lead the Raiders down the field before halftime. Here with a 38-yard pass to Tim Brown, getting the Raiders into field goal range for Chris Barr, who would hit from 38 and send Oakland into the tunnel with a 10-7 lead at the half. Long Oakland drive to open the second half would end in a field goal to put them up 13-7. But the ensuing kickoff would give the franchise stars football league the first glimpse of dynamic rookie returner Speedy Duncan, who takes it to the house, 95-yard return. The Chargers have a lightning strike to take a 14-13 lead. Second play of the ensuing drive, however, Stabler finds Tim Brown. Remember, Brown was hurt late in year one and missed the playoff loss to Buffalo in the divisional round. What can Brown do for you? A 76-yard touchdown reception, that's what. Kenny Graham goes for the pick. He ends up getting left in the dust. Raiders would fail on the two-point conversion, but Brown, Stabler's favorite target, finds his way in, and the Raiders find their way to a 19-14 lead in quarter number 3. In the third quarter, the guy pressed to pick up the slack when Brown was out a year ago. Irvin Fernandez reels in this one from 11 yards out, a little toe tapping in the back of the end zone. Raiders would go up 26-14, and that's how this one would finish. Raiders with a big victory here in year one against the Chargers, 26-14. Terrific job by the Raiders defense. Lowe was bottled up. Rote was limited. Wes Chandler, the league's top receiver a year ago, held to 3 catches for 31 yards as Lester Hayes locked him down. A pair of touchdowns from Stabler and Marcus Allen, even with Kaufman in the fold. Still carried 31 times for 141 yards, much in the clock-eating fourth quarter to secure the win for Oakland. Jaguars and Texans will head to Houston, where the surprising Jacksonville Jaguars, 10-7 and a wild card team a year ago, visit the Texans 0-17, the league's second worst offense and a defense that allowed more than 100 points more than the next worst defense. Not a ton of help in the draft for Houston, so it could be another long season for J.J. Watt, Mario Williams, and, well, a bunch of other guys. Not much to speak of in this one early on, but after a field goal early in the quarter, Jacksonville gets deep in Houston territory in the second, and it's James Robinson, a secondary back behind Fred Taylor, but a dangerous one, who goes in here from a yard out for the score. 98 yards on the day for Robinson as Doug Peterson's Jaguars ran it right down the gully for much of the day. 10-0 Jacksonville here late in quarter number 2. On the ensuing drive, you assume that Houston will just head into the tunnel and try to regroup, but with 3 timeouts on the board, DeMeco Ryans tries to push it and see if they can get down the field. Instead, Brian Hoyer is picked off by Darryl Smith at the 25, and the Jaguars have a chance to strike again before halftime. Peter Lawrence didn't have much to do in this time, but we see him here. That's Alan Hearns from Lawrence, a 4-yard strike. Mike Hollis would hit the extra point, and in a span of a minute and a half before halftime, the Jags raised their lead from 3-0 to 17-0. Saw James Robinson already, but here in the second half, here's Fred Taylor. Taylor, after an 11-yard carry, busts this one down the right-hand side for 23 yards. 145 yards on the ground for Taylor in this one. He was 8th in the league in rushing a year ago, and he is off to a fine start here. Taylor also had 10 touchdowns a year ago, but he gives way here for Robinson, who goes in for his second score of the day to put this one away. Texans had scored late to erase the 0 from the board, but this one was all Jacksonville, 24-8. Pair of picks from Hoyer and this Texans offense. Dominic Williams limited to 49 yards. Teams can just key on him, that makes it a really rough go. Houston didn't get to the red zone until the fourth quarter. Taylor and Robinson lead the Jaguars 261 yards on the ground. Not much from Trevor Lawrence, but he didn't have to here at Jacksonville roll. Next, we head to New York or New Jersey, but you get the point. The Dolphins visit the Jets, 6-11 and 7-10 respectively a year ago, both on the outside looking in come playoff time. Both teams played better down the stretch, the Jets in particular, winning 5 of 6 before falling to the Patriots in the season finale. New York won both matchups a year ago. Opening drive here for Miami goes almost 9 minutes before Mercury Morris takes it in from a yard out to give the Dolphins a 7-0 lead. Morris, 10th in the league in rushing in year one of the FSFL, would carry a heavy load in this one for Coach Don Shula. 2-minute mark left in the half, still 7-0. And it's Tua Tagovailoa dropping back, firing a dart into the back of the end zone where Carl Noonan makes a terrific diving grab for the score to make it 13-0 Miami. Noonan led this sluggish Dolphins offense with 62 catches a year ago. But Garo Yepremian, who missed from 42 yards out earlier on in the quarter, would miss the extra point, leaving it 13-0 as we would head to the half. Late third quarter, no change to the score. Jets with the ball, and it's Ken O'Brien, who played so well during the Jets' late season resurgence a year ago, looking for his tight end Mickey Schuler, but it's a bit out ahead of him, and Zach Thomas reels it in for the interception as nothing could get going offensively for O'Brien and the Jets. Zach Thomas, a very solid game here, the leader of this Dolphins defense, kind of everywhere all over the field, stops the run, stops the pass, terrific all-around linebacker. Fourth quarter, Jets still staring at a donut on the scoreboard, but that would change in a flash. Curtis Martin, solid but unspectacular a year ago, races into FSFL history with the longest TD run to date, 96 yards, as he sees nothing up the middle but pops it outside. Gets a nice seal-off block to get him to daylight and bring the MetLife crowd to its feet to get the Jets on the board, making it 13-7. Play of the ensuing drive, and Tagovailoa, feeling the pressure collapse around him, steps up for trying to wing it outside. Darrelle Revis reads him perfectly and picks it off. One Tua definitely wishes that he could have back for sure. A bad pick there. Revis down at the Miami 24. Jets take advantage, get down to the goal line, 4th and 1. Bruce Coslett calls on Emerson Boozer, who is stuffed at the line, a huge goal line stand by Miami to keep this game 13-7 and potentially get Tagovailoa off the hook for that pick. New York would get another chance after their defense came through, another 4th down, this one 4th and 4 from the 47. And it's a post from O'Brien to Wesley Walker. His top target had 12 touchdowns a year ago. He pulls in his first of the year here. And Nick Folk's extra point, remember, Yepremian missed that extra point earlier. Extra point here from Folk gave the Jets a 14-13 lead on the Walker touchdown. Last shot for the Dolphins. Third down. Tagovailoa will drop back here, but he will face some pressure from the Jets line. That's Verlin Biggs. 4 sacks a year ago, breaking through to get Tagovailoa for the sack, bringing up a 4th and 15 situation. Last chance here for Miami, trying to keep the drive going. Tagovailoa drops back, he looks, he finds Noonan near the marker, but Noonan has to slide to make the grab. James Hasty puts the touch on him, short of the marker, to end the Dolphins' drive, end their hope, as the Jets rally with 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns with a 14-13 win over Miami. See the final stat lines there. Both quarterbacks, Tagovailoa and Ken O'Brien, each threw a touchdown, each threw a pick as well. Both Mercury Morris and Curtis Martin go over the century mark, each with a score. Zach Thomas, 9 tackles and a pick for Miami. Darrelle Revis, terrific game for the Jets. He had a sack as well as that big interception. But the big blow or failure in this game for the Dolphins, Garo Yepremian's missed extra point comes back to bite in a Week 1 loss, 14-13 to the Jets. Baltimore we go for an AFC North battle as the Bengals, 8-9 a year ago, take on the Ravens, who went 6-10-1, both teams failing to make the postseason. Cincinnati's defense forced the most turnovers in the FSFL, despite being overall a middling defense in terms of points allowed. Baltimore would have been happy with a middling status, as despite the great Ray Lewis, they allowed too many big plays to compensate for the erratic play of Tony Banks and a subpar group of receivers. They don't show that there, though. The Bengals' opening drive, 3rd and goal from inside the 1. The Ravens' defense comes up huge as Lewis finishes off James Brooks for the loss. Cincinnati held to a 23-yard Doug Pelfrey field goal for a 3-0 lead. Later in the first, it's Banks in the shotgun for Brian Billick, sacked on the prior play, looking for Rashad Bateman for a 12-yard touchdown strike to get the Ravens on the board and into the lead. It's now 7-3 Baltimore. Early in the third, and the eyes on Ken Anderson. 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions last year. Changed things up at the line. Clearly didn't like what it was that he saw. He's gonna like this. Jermaine Graham going some hops for a tight end. He was well covered. It didn't matter. Anderson puts it up. Graham pulls it down, reels it in. That is a 19-yard touchdown strike from Anderson to Graham, and the Bengals would take the lead right back. Baltimore, it's now 10-7. Cincinnati. Still 10-7 in the third, inside 5 minutes left, and the Ravens driving. Banks looks into the end zone for Dennis Pita, his tight end, but Jim LeClaire picks it off. Cincinnati would keep its 3-point lead as a frustrated Tony Banks walks off the field knowing that was not the best throw that he could have made in that situation. That's how things would stay until the fourth quarter. Midway through, Bengals clinging to the 3-point lead still. After a 36-yard connection with A.J. Green, Anderson goes to Carl Pickens in the back of the end zone for the 10-yard score. Pelfrey would miss the extra point, however, and that would keep things 16-7. So the Bengals would have a 9-point lead. Good job by Pickens there, getting the inside position. Louis Cundiff would kick a field goal for Baltimore, making it 16-10, and that's how it would stay until the final 2 minutes. Here's Tony Banks dropping back. He hits Marquise Brown deep down the right side, a 69-yard score. Brown quietly 87 catches, 1,100 yards receiving a year ago, though he only found the end zone 3 times. On his way to changing that here in year 2, he finds his first of the season. Ravens take a 17-16 lead late. Last crack for the Bengals. Ravens shut them down for 3 plays. 4th and 10, and it's Anderson finding Chip Myers for a 35-yard strike to get into Baltimore territory and keep hope alive. 1-point game, Pelfrey kicking into a net on the sideline, hoping for redemption after the mixed extra point. Chance Yepremian didn't get in the Miami-New York matchup. Pelfrey wouldn't get the chance either, but for a different reason. Anderson connects with Pickens again, this time 36 yards for the score, and Cincinnati reclaims the lead with the 2-point conversion to boot, 24-17. Anderson, always underrated in my eyes, comes through here with a perfect pass, and Pickens' second touchdown of the game cuts the heart out of the fans in Baltimore. Or did it? Banks drops back, final 30 seconds, 33 yards over the middle for Travis Taylor, and the Ravens still have hope. Field goal does nothing, though, and so it's a shot at the end zone. Banks is going to put some air under this one, putting it up for a jump ball in the back of the end zone where Jesse Bates pulls it down for the interception for Cincinnati to seal A thrilling win for the Bengals to open up year two. Ken Anderson throws for 374 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day. Carl Pickens, 9 for 157 and a pair of scores. A.J. Green also goes over the 100-yard mark. And Cincinnati comes through despite 15 tackles, 4 for a loss from Ray Lewis. Ray Rice, 23 carries, 122 yards, but in the end, it's the Bengals taking down the Ravens 24-17. Next, we head to Chicago, where the defending NFC North champion Minnesota Vikings and that vaunted defensive line, led by Carl Eller, 17.5 sacks a year ago, head in to face Gale Sayers and the Chicago Bears. The Bears 5-12 last year. A few absolute stud players: Sayers, Butkus, Singletary, Sitka. But on the whole, the Bears were a bit lacking throughout the course of the season. They will look to improve this year, but it's a tough call for them in week one as the Vikings come to town. We head to Soldier Field. Scoreless game in the first quarter. Here's Michael Bennett. He and Dalvin Cook, a strong tandem for the Vikings and Coach Bud Grant's ground-heavy attack a year ago. Bennett rips off a 28-yard carry here. That would set up a 38-yard field goal from Blair Walsh and give the Vikings a 3-0 lead. Final minute of the first quarter. Vikings fall again in Chicago territory, and Cousins rolls right here. He will sense pressure on his back and try to force one to Jermaine Wiggins. That proves an error. Joe Fortunato picks it off with nothing but green ahead of him. It's a pick six for Fortunato, and just like that, the Bears are on the board and in front, 7-3. Next drive, a methodical one for the Vikings, who get deep into Chicago territory. And Cousins not forcing anything this time. He sees space, takes off, 5-yard scamper into the end zone, and the Vikings reclaim the lead. It is 10-7 Minnesota. Vikings would be able to stall the Bears and get it back. And Cousins drops back here. This time he finds Randy Moss on an out route near the sideline. Nice grab there by Moss. That would set up Walsh for a 49-yard field goal. That would extend the lead to 6, and that's how it would stay into halftime. Cousins connecting with his favorite target. We move on. Early third quarter, Vikings start with the ball, and Cousins, again, as we saw him earlier, rolling out. Again, he would look for Jermaine Wiggins, and again, Cousins would be picked off. This time by Mike Brown. The Bears would get great field position, down 6, with an opportunity to make the Vikings pay for it. Mistakes like this what burned Cousins a year ago. Overall, his numbers looked solid, but he would make big mistakes in big spots, and that's what you see there. Vikings defense would stand firm to bail Cousins out. This defensive line, we have talked about it for a year plus. Here's Carl Eller, who wraps up the elusive Bobby Douglas for the sack. This wouldn't be the last time that we would hear from Eller. Chicago would get a 46-yard field goal from Edinger late in the third to make it 13-10. Edinger would hit again in the fourth to tie the game at 13. Lewis would get up close and personal once more with Eller, though. Second sack of the game there for Carl Eller. 4 total for Minnesota. Alan Page had the other 2. This one from Eller, though, forced the turnover. Douglas puts it on the ground while Hilgenberg recovers. And that would lead to this. 4th and 1, a little less than 7 minutes left, but Grant elects the field goal and the lead rather than going for it. Walsh hits from 29, and the Vikings reclaim the lead, 16-13. Late in the fourth, Bears trying to get the game level in the final minute, and it's Bobby Douglas taking off himself. This is what he does so well. Picks up 14 yards to get into range for Edinger. 5 ticks left on the clock. Edinger sets for the tying kick, trying to force overtime. He puts it up, splits the uprights. It is through, and to overtime we go. tied at 16. Both sides go 3 and out on their first possession. Vikings get a crack from their 15. Their terrific defense had a knack for giving up big plays at the worst times. Solid quarterback made his mistakes at the worst possible times as well. Look no further than here. Cousins picked off for the third time, the second time from Fortunato. This one would hurt. Bellinger comes on, hits from 40 yards out. And the Bears, in what has to be considered a big upset to open year two, pick up the 1916 overtime win over the defending division champs. We head to Dallas. The last time these two teams met was the final week of the regular season a year ago. The Cowboys putting a pasting on the Redskins, 34-0. Cowboys ended up 9-8, made the playoffs as the 7th seed. The Redskins were left home watching from the outside. Emmitt Smith, 140 yards rushing for Dallas in that one. John Riggins, 120 yards for Washington in the losing effort. We start off here late in the first quarter. Redskins already up 3-0. And here is Jason Campbell, arguably the most surprising player in year one of the FSFL. When he put up a very strong campaign, here he shows his mobility, rolls and hits Bobby Mitchell for 24 yards, would set up Dustin Hopkins' second field goal of the game and give Washington a 6-0 lead. Campbell getting himself off to a fine start, trying to show that his year one success wasn't fluke. Plus has a pretty good QB too. His name is Roger Staubach. And here he finds Michael Irvin for 27 yards over the middle to set up a Dallas threat. Irvin finds a seam right down the center of the field. Dallas gets ready to threaten. That threat would dissipate quickly thanks to this sack. Chris Hamburger finds his way through. He brings down Roger the Dodger, who couldn't dodge this one, and knocks the Cowboys out of field goal range to keep it a 6-0 game. Later in the half, Dallas driving again, and it's Jay Novacek over the middle. He gets popped by Kurt Gouveia, who was all over the place in this one for Washington. Ball comes out, seemingly squashing another Dallas drive in what would be a defensive battle throughout. After review, though, Novacek was ruled down and the drive continued. Cowboys would get a 20-yard reception to Lance Renzel to set up a Bonial field goal, send us into halftime at 6-3. Nobody could crack the end zone, and to start the second half, nobody could even get a first down. That would change with about 8 minutes left when Staubach and Irvin connected again, this time for 6 points, 49 yards to put the Cowboys in front 10-6. Irvin once again finding that seam over the middle. And finally, the crowd in Dallas had something to cheer about. Big connection there, Staubach and Irvin, such a good combination a year ago. Irvin, the money man for Dallas in the air. Puts a little juke on there, just comes the defense for 6 points. 10-6 Dallas. Here's Campbell on the move again on the following drive. He fired this one across his body to hit Chris Cooley for a 30-yard pickup. And the Redskins had their eyes set on breaking into the end zone for their first time in the game. Terrific job again, Campbell showing that mobility. Roger the Dodger has the nickname, but Campbell certainly elusive, evasive back there in the pocket for Washington. That wouldn't go as planned as the Dallas defense stayed stingy, particularly against the running game and John Riggins, stuffed here by Charlie Waters. Washington would settle for the 51-yard field goal from Dustin Hopkins. That would get them within a point at 10-9. As the defensive struggle continued. Emmitt Smith was contained for much of the first half, but he started to find his legs after halftime. Here he goes, breaking it for 26 yards in the third. He'd end up over the century mark. Remember, Smith was the third leading rusher in the league a year ago, behind Jim Brown and Marcus Allen. Chris Bonial on the first play of the fourth quarter, though, would miss from 35 yards out, leaving the game a 1-point affair. Late in the fourth, Dallas deep in their own territory, but here's Smith again. ripping a big gain out just shy of midfield to get the Cowboys out of danger. That would all but end things for Washington. They'd get pinned deep in their own end by a Ron Whitby punt, and on 4th and 10 from their own goal line, P.D. Lewis would break through, force Campbell out of the back of the end zone for a safety, and a very frustrated Jason Campbell and his Redskins would have to cope with a 12-9 defeat to the hated Cowboys Week 1 in Dallas. There you see the numbers. Campbell, in very modest days, 16 of 32 for 162. Staubach, 16 of 28 for 235 and the touchdown to Irvin. Emmett Smith over the 100-yard mark. As we mentioned, Dallas contains Riggins, 20 carries for 40 yards. Riggins was actually more through the air. 6 catches out of the backfield in that one. Irvin, 7 catches for 138 and the score. And to give you an idea of what a defensive struggle this was, 24 combined first down between the two squads. Defensive there goes to the Cowboys. Tightly packed NFC South came down to the final week last season to settle anything, and the division title was decided when the Saints defeated the Falcons 30-23 in the final game of the regular season. The Saints would pick up a win over Tampa in the divisional round before being bounced by San Francisco, while the Falcons' stay was short, 34-6 dismantling at the hands of the Vikings. Saints and Falcons kick off year 2 here in Atlanta. We start late in the first half. Falcons forced to settle for a pair of Young Hoku field goals to this point. 3.5 minutes remaining in the half, and Matt Ryan drops back, only to get hammered by rookie David Onyemata, who jars the ball loose. It bounced around, but Jake Matthews would fall on it to preserve possession and avert disaster for Atlanta. Falcons would hold on and punt, and the Saints would get it at the 2-minute warning. Here, it's Drew Brees dropping back. This time, it's Brees who gets hammered by Deion Jones. Brees coughs it up, Tommy Novus falls on it, and the Falcons are in business to get more points before halftime. 29 seconds remaining in the half, and it's Ryan connecting with Roddy White on a short slant, a 3-yard touchdown reception for White. And the Falcons would head into the half in complete control here over the Saints, 13-0 in front of a very boisterous home crowd in Atlanta. First drive of the second half, and it's more for the Falcons. Here you see Matt Ryan dropping back, getting good protection, scanning before he finds tight end Junior Miller for a 6-yard touchdown. Atlanta would cash in on the 2-point conversion as well, and it is a rout here by all appearances in Atlanta, 21-0 Falcons. Third quarter, Saints still unable to get much going, but Mark Ingram finds some daylight here, picking up 28 yards after a 13-yard carry from George Rogers, and the Saints finally get something brewing as the third quarter winds down and we head into the fourth. Needing something to have any shot at a comeback, they get it as Ingram slithers his way in for a 3-yard touchdown run to get the Saints on the board, still with 13 minutes remaining in the game. However, the 2-point conversion would fail, and the Falcons would still have a comfortable 15-point margin here in this one. Falcons would go 3 and out, and the Saints would have it near midfield. But with Brees dropping back to pass, John Zook squashes that thought, and Brees with the sack for a 9-yard loss to force the punt. Nwoku would miss the 49-yard field goal attempt that could have put it away, and the Saints would keep hope, though the clock said otherwise. After a 28-yard pass to Quinn Early with a bit over a minute left, Brees would find Danny Abramowitz over the middle for a 17-yard touchdown strike. That would make it 21-13 heading into the final minute of the ballgame. Onside's kick coming. Rizzaro lines up. There's the kick, hoping for a recovery and a Hail Mary, but Gerald Riggs would take it on the hop, cover it up, and the Falcons would hold on for the 21-13 win in front of a home crowd. You see Ryan, 23 of 33 for 243 and a pair of scores. Michael Turner, 23 carries for 74 yards. Tommy Nobis had 12 tackles. Jones and Zook a sack each for the Falcons. Breeze, not his best day, 16 of 35 for 167 and the touchdown. Ingram, 12 carries for 80 yards and a score. George Rogers would add 15 for 63. At Swilling, dynamic on defense, 9 tackles, 7 for a loss. Picked up a sack as well, but not enough to get it done as the Falcons take down the Saints 21-10. Four teams in the NFC South, as we mentioned in talking about the Falcons-Saints matchup, Bob the Parrot. 3 of the 4 teams made the postseason. Panthers were left on the outside looking in, and they were none too happy about that. The 2 teams in that division who played the most physical games during the course of the year, the Bucks and these Panthers, loads of talent. Both defenses would get physical, would get nasty, and the same would hold true here kicking off year 2 in Carolina. It doesn't take long for the Bucks defense to reintroduce itself as Teddy Bridgewater drops back on the opening possession, and Leroy Selman busts through to take him down. 17 sacks a year ago for Selman, second in the league. He drives Bridgewater to the turf, and away we go in Carolina. The Panthers have some defensive talent too, and they let the Bucks know it. Or if they forgot, they got reminded. Lamar Lathan gets a run here at Jameis Winston and hammers him, drawing the ball loose before Brenson Buckner picks it up, and the Panthers suddenly have great field position for the first threat of the game. That fumble would yield a Joey Sly field goal from 25 yards out to give Carolina a 3-0 lead. Bucks would go 3 and out again, and the Panthers get it back still in the first quarter. From the Tampa 45, it's Christian McCaffrey who finds a hole, shoots through it, a little shimmy shake, and it's off to the races. 45-yard touchdown run for McCaffrey, and the Panthers open it up to 10-0 at the end of quarter number 1. Second quarter now, drive down, and Winston gets his first touchdown pass of the year, a 3-yarder here to Mark Carrier, who takes the shot but holds on for the score to draw Tampa Bay within a field goal. It's now a 10-7 game. Wouldn't be the last time we would hear from Mark Carrier on this Sunday afternoon in Carolina. 4.5 minutes left in quarter 2, and the Panthers have it, but not for long. Bridgewater with an ill-advised throw here as Ricky Reynolds goes up and grabs it for the pick, setting Tampa up at the Carolina 26. Bridgewater, frustrated to say the least, as he exits the field. He knows there is no way he should have thrown this ball. Definitely one Bridgewater wishes he could have had back. An athletic play there by Reynolds picked up the pick. Panthers defense would hold up though, and Michael Usted would miss a 47-yard field goal. So no harm, no foul for Bridgewater and the Panthers. They'd get a 3-spot from Sly again, this time from 20 yards out, to make it 13-7 at the half. Brooks would get another crack though, and this time they wouldn't miss. First shot of the third quarter after halting the Panthers, Winston finds Carrier in the end zone for the second time, this time from 16 yards out. And the Bucks, who had been outplayed to this point, would take a 14-13 lead after Usted's PAT. After this, Tampa would have chances to put it away, but they'd settle a pair of field goals from Usted from 28 and 27, keeping it a 7-point manageable game. And that's where the Panthers took advantage. Rocket Ishmael with the reception here from Bridgewater with 2 minutes left for the score. Bridgewater finds him in between the defenders there on the slant route. Ishmael gets into the end zone, and the Panthers get level. That's how regulation would end. Both teams failed on their first overtime possessions, but the second time around, Joey Sly didn't. 38-yarder here splits the uprights, and the Panthers come through with the opening week overtime victory over the Bucs. Bridgewater, 19 of 34 for 179, a TD and a pick. Christian McCaffrey, 20 carries for 137 and the score. Luke Ketchley all over the place with 16 tackles in this one. Winston was solid, 23 of 36 for 263 and a pair of touchdowns. They couldn't get the running game going at all, though. James Wilder, 27 carries, only 52 yards for the Bucs, who fall in the year 2 opener. Two of the top rookies in the Franchise Stars Football League for year 2 clash as the Seahawks meet the Cardinals, led by running backs Marshawn Lynch and Otis Anderson. Two teams that missed the playoffs with losing records a year ago. The Cardinals going 7-9, the Seahawks 4-13, the third worst offense in the FSFL. Both squads hoping that an influx of talent can thrust them into the playoff picture here in year 2. Opening drive of the game, and it's Anderson tearing off a nice chunk of yardage. It wouldn't be the last time on the day he'd do so. Impressive debut from Anderson. We'll talk more about that later. Midway through the first, Cardinals driving, and it's Jim Hart dropping back, looking over the middle to a crossing Ernie Jones, who opens the scoring with a 6-yard touchdown reception. Next drive, Seahawks get down the field, and it's Lynch. Getting to the outside, he'll make his way into the end zone untouched for the score. After the extra point, we'd be knotted at 7. There you see Lynch getting in untouched for his first FSFL touchdown. But the Cardinals have come down the field early in the second quarter. It's Hart again, and this time it's Ricky Prohl reciprocating Lynch's touchdown celebration as the Cardinals strike to make it 14-7. The Seahawks would drive again, though, a bit over 4 minutes remaining. And here's John Kitna. He zips it to DK Metcalf for an apparent score. But a whistle would undo that, and the Seahawks would ultimately be kept out of the end zone, settling for a Todd Peterson field goal to make it 14-10. Bit before halftime, and it's Hart looking for Jackie Smith over the middle here. But Bobby Wagner right there in tight coverage, and Wagner, terrific for this Seattle defense a year ago, gets the interception to snuff out the drive and give Seattle a shot at points in the final minute of the first half. That thought wouldn't last long, though, as Kitna on 2nd and 3 would look over the middle himself, and the only thing he'd find is E.J. Jr., who picks it off to get the Cardinals the ball back with 54 seconds left in the half. There'd be no change. It would stay 14-10 Cardinals. Midway through the third, Kitna looks to the right side, and it's another solid Cardinals rookie, Aeneas Williams, who goes up to pick this one off. And the Cardinals, they love this guy and look forward to his impact on an already solid defense. Cardinals would try to make Seattle pay. Hart looks near the pylon, and again, it is Ricky Prohl making the grab. This time, though, Prohl can't get into the end zone. Out of bounds at the 1. That would set up 1st and goal on the doorstep for Larry Centers, the fullback. Centers would take the carry in from a yard out to make it 21-10. Sanders, considered a good receiver out of the backfield. He can run a bit, though. There you see him. He kind of finds the little hole there, leaps his way into the end zone, and the Cardinals take control. 21-10, Seahawks pick up a field goal to make it an 8-point game. 4.5 minutes left, and Hart finds Jones in the end zone for the second time. Nice job by Jones to hold on while being hit. 28-13 Cardinals. It would tack on a late field goal for a 31-13 final. 3 interceptions thrown by John Kitna, not really something the Seahawks can afford. Lynch, 88 yards on 21 carries, but the Seahawks defense allows the Cardinals to go a perfect 4 for 4 on touchdowns when getting into the red zone. Hart throws 3 touchdowns, 2 to Jones. Anderson rushes for 167 yards on 22 carries in his FSFL debut. Good start for the Cardinals, who get the Rams next week, while the Seahawks deal with the defending NFC champion 49ers. Next, we head out to California for a battle of division rivals. San Francisco, the reigning NFC champion 49ers, hosting the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams 7-9-1 a year ago. They dropped their last 3 games of the season to fall short of the playoffs. The Niners, of course, 14-3, a terrific run that saw them fall in the Legends Bowl 1. Rams were the 4th highest scoring offense in the league a year ago. The Niners, so we figure we'll have some fireworks here. Opening drive for the Rams, a terrific drive down the field. Warner hits Billy Truex around the 10. His tight end gets hammered by Tim McDonald and Charles Haley. Coughs the ball up. The 49ers would recover, and the Rams' drive gets snuffed out here to open up year number 2. 49ers ball still in the first, late in the first quarter. Frank Gore, the halfback, wheels out of the backfield, streaks down the right-hand side. Gore would be largely contained rushing the ball in this one, but he scores there on the big touchdown strike, 52 yards from John Brody, and the Niners strike first for a 7-0 lead. Early second quarter, Rams with the ball, still 7-0 San Francisco. Warner drops back looking for one of his many weapons. That's Torrey Holt with a diving grab down the right sideline. Niners lucky Holt lost his footing there and had to dive for that ball, or he may have ended up in the end zone. But the Rams would end up in the end zone anyway. Slant over the middle, Cooper Kupp reels it in. Warner hits him for the score, and the Rams tie it up at 7. Moving ahead later in the second quarter, final couple of minutes, still deadlocked at 7. Frank Gore hit the deep strike earlier on. This is really a similar route, just a shorter version of it. Gore this time to the left side. Brody hits him again, second touchdown receiving for Frank Gore. Again, we mentioned he was contained largely rushing the ball, but he'd go over 100 yards receiving in this one for San Francisco. 14-7, final moments of the half. Niners would get the ball back. Brody tries to force this one into Gene Washington. Dexter McLean cuts in front of him. Terrific pick there from McLean. Brody very frustrated with himself there. Again, you've got the lead. You're getting ready to go into the tunnel, trying to make a little something extra happen. McLean looked like he was actually beat on the play, but he does a great correction there. Cuts to the inside, jumps the route, and has the pick. Rams would settle for a field goal there. We head to the third quarter. Rudy drops back, looks along the left sideline, and a terrific grab there, keeping the feet down for his tight end, Trent Jones. Jones, along the sideline, Brody puts it in a great spot. Jones just finds the pocket there. You see 3 Rams defenders around the perimeter of him, but Jones reels it in. 14-10, drive continues. Brody in the shotgun from the 11-yard line. Pass over the middle. That's Dwight Clark, who splits the defense, dives into the end zone, and the 49ers strike again. Third touchdown throw for John Brody in this one. Clark finds the seam. Brody hits him again. Brody, so many weapons at his disposal in this 49ers lineup. 21-10, Niners again, and there is Jerry Rice talking about weapons. Rice, a bit of a corner out there. Brody leads him. Rice reaches out with the fingertip grab, pulls it in, scampers the rest of the way, and the route, at least seeming, would be on in San Francisco, the reigning NFC champions, storming out to a big 28-10 lead. We head to the fourth. Here's Warner. in the shotgun, looking. Terrific blocking by the Rams line, all sorts of time. And if you give Kurt Warner that kind of time, he's going to find somebody. That somebody is Cooper Kupp. Second touchdown reception of the game for Kupp. Warner hits him, and the Rams stay within striking distance. Mike Lansford would miss the extra point. The Rams would have to go for the onside kick here, and Clark picks it up on the dead run. Clark almost takes the onside kick to the house, but instead he's brought down inside the 5. 49ers a chance to wrap it up, but they'd settle for a field goal. 31-16, final 2 minutes. Kurt Warner deep down the left-hand side. That is Harold Jackson, who reels it in on the strike down inside the 49ers 10. Warner in the shotgun. Next play, looks right-hand side, back of the end zone. Touchdown Rams. He hits Billy Truex, who, if you remember, had that big fumble on the opening drive. Truex makes amends here, pulls that one in, and the Rams say, "Not so fast, my friend. This one isn't over yet." Shout out to Lee Corso from College Game Day, the now retired Lee Corso. Lansford would come on here for the extra point. It is up and good. And now it's an 8-point game, 31-23. Rams would again try the onside kick. Tom Rathman boots it a little bit, but then is able to cover it. And the Niners get the scare lead, but they hold on. The Rams a 15-minute time of possession advantage in this one. For the 49ers, some big hits, touchdowns of 53 and 71 yards. The deep strikes to Gore and to Rice. And the 49ers start off year 2 with a 31-23 victory over the Rams. Warner throws for 420 yards and 3 scores. Jackson, a huge day, 11 catches for 200. Aaron Donald making his debut, the rookie 9 tackles, 5 for a loss. Brody throws 4 touchdowns. Rice, 100 yards receiving and a score. And Kevin Willis, always a solid linebacker, 16 tackles. He was all over the place for the Niners to hold on for the victory. Hit to Indianapolis. The defending champion Oilers bring their two-headed monster of Earl Campbell and Derrick Henry into Indy to take on Burt Jones. Jones, the second-rated passer in the AFC a year ago. And the Indianapolis Colts, who missed the playoffs despite putting up a very solid 10-win campaign. They were a bit of a surprise, particularly their defense, which outperformed expectations. But they'd have their hands full here in week 1. Earl Campbell off tackle on the opening drive, barrels over a couple of people, picks up the first down, and the Oilers were on their way. The second barrel of that gun, here's Derrick Henry. Henry, same drive, first down carry into Indianapolis territory. So the Oilers know what was expected of them. They don't care. Try to stop it anyway. And that sets up the pass. George Blanda wouldn't have to throw much in this game, only 15 attempts. But this one would be a touchdown strike. Tim Smith inside the pylon for the score. Opening drive, Oilers have a quick 7-0 lead. Colts ball on the ensuing drive, coming down the field, a good drive of their own, and they've got a good back of their own. Idell Mitchell out of a tackle, fights off the defender. Good run there from Mitchell. Mitchell would have a solid day coming out of the backfield for the Colts. A very dangerous threat. Mitchell missed about a month of last season, but when he was in the lineup, the Colts used him heavily, usually with very strong results. 3rd and 1, they'd ride Mitchell here, hoping to get something out of this drive, but he would be stuck. That would bring up a 4th and 1. They'd pass up on the field goal. They'd go for it. And Javon Curse would blow that play up in the backfield. So despite a long drive from the Colts, they would get nothing out of it. This Oilers defense Again, a big story in the league last year. The whole kind of outplayed the sum of its parts. Here's Greg Bingham. Later drive now in the second quarter, he hammers Burt Jones for the sack, and it would stay 7-0. But Jones would dust himself off, get up from the turf, and find Tom Mitchell, his tight end, for the score, and the Colts would get things level. Tight coverage, but a perfect throw from Jones. Mitchell, the second tight end option. Ken Dilger, the main guy at tight end, but Jones finds Mitchell there for the score. 7-7 in the second, and Jones here with a mistake. Pass over the middle, Randall Godfrey right there. You'll see Roger Carr, Jones's favorite target, tracking across the middle on a bit of a drag route, and Jones was just locked in on him, never even saw Godfrey there in the middle. Godfrey picks it off. Oilers would try to make them pay for it. Blanda drops back. His favorite target from a year ago was Charlie Hennigan. Hennigan in the back of the end zone reels this one in for the score. Perfect throw from Blanda. So Blanda efficient. Again, we mentioned he only threw 15 passes in this game, 2 touchdown strikes. Here are the Colts, and here's a little bit of a reverse for Roger Carr, and you can't draw it up better than that. The fumble is forced by Keith Bullock. Marcus Robertson catches it on the fly after Bullock pokes it out. We'll take a look again. We'll get this replay going through one more time. Bullock hits Carr. Carr tries to fight him off, but it's punched out from Carr up into the air, and Robertson kicks it right out of the air, takes it to the house for the Oilers, who extend their lead. Indy would get a field goal later. It's 21-13. We're looking at it now. Here's Burt Jones in the third. Deep down the right side, and there is Ken Dilger. We talked about him before with the Mitchell touchdown. Dilger, the primary tight end target. Nice throw there from Jones. Dilger reels it in, and the Colts trying to get down the field. 8-point game, 1-score game, as the Colts staying close, trying to overcome the deficit. Jones drops back, looks down the field again. This time it's Glenn Doughty who goes up. He takes a shot, but holds on, gets it down to the 21-yard line. Hit there from Fred Glick, but a terrific job here from Doughty. Again, the Colts have a good array of weapons, both offensively and defensively. They surprised teams last year. I don't think they're going to surprise teams this year. Here's no surprise. Billy White Shoes Johnson, taken from the end zone. Johnson, who hit a 57-yard kick return earlier on in the game, this time takes it to the house. For the score, 101 yards from Billy White Shoes Johnson, and the Oilers would seal it with that. 28-16, Oilers pick up where they left off, the defending champions, with a big Week 1 win. Campbell, 72 yards rushing. Derrick Henry added 35 on the ground. The Colts had the ball for the overwhelming majority of this game, but the Oilers made their attempts count. Greg Bingham, big game defensively, 13 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for a loss. Keith Bullock, 3 tackles for a loss, a half a sack, and that forced fumble. Solid day. Burt Jones, 50 passes is not what this Colts offense wants to do, but they were playing from behind from the jump. Jones, 364 yards passing. Don McCafferty's offense wants to be much more run-heavy than that going forward. Lydell Mitchell, 95 yards rushing. Roger Carr over the 100-yard mark receiving, but that big fumble ended up costing the Colts, who fall in Week 1. Let's head to New York. The only team that actually plays in New York, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, the reigning AFC East champions, and the rival Patriots. Tom Brady and company visiting O.J. Simpson's squad. The Bills' real standout last year, though, was the defense. The defense was terrific for Buffalo. But, of course, when you think of the Bills, you talk O.J. Simpson. Simpson missed 4 games early on in the year. The Bills dropped 3 of those 4. With Simpson, they were a much different team. But it starts off here with New England. They've got a decent back of their own. Kevin Falk, who was more dangerous running the ball than expected a year ago, but at heart, his strength is really as a receiver. Tom Brady finds Falk out of the backfield on the opening drive, and the Patriots strike first. But O.J. Simpson would get the Bills going on the following drive. Simpson goes up the middle, bounces off a couple of people, flips past another, and he runs up the back of his own lineman here. That may have actually stopped him from breaking this one and taking it to the house. There you'll see the cutback. But even so, the Bills would get down the field. They'd have to settle for a field goal, though. 3rd and goal for the Patriots. Brady drops back, and Jordan Poyer on the corner blitz from Coach Sean McDermott gets around the backside. Brady caught, actually that was Brady's front side, but still, Poyer brings him down. Patriots had settled for a field goal. It's 10-3. Patriots had put their own pressure on Houston Antwi, a screen that never gets developed. Joe Ferguson gets planted. Patriots hit Ferguson a good amount in this game. Ferguson gets knocked down, but he gets right back up and fires this strike. That's J.D. Hill. Big gain well into Patriots territory. Bills have get down close, down inside the 5. 1st and goal. Ferguson looks to the side of the end zone, and Albert DeBenion, his favorite target from a year ago. DeBenion always showed up in the live stream broadcast last year. He picks that up here. Modest receiving numbers on the day for DeBenion, but he still gets into the end zone, and we're tied at 10. Brady was under pressure as well. Bills got 3 sacks on the day, but they hit Brady plenty, including that man, Bruce Smith. Brady wondering, hey, maybe somebody wants to pick up that big 78 guy that everybody knows about. 13-10 Bills, and here's Falk. Falk breaks this one, and we'll check on the replay here as Falk gets down inside the 5, but look at Jim Nance lead blocking. Nance hammers Jordan Poyer to set Falk free, and a 10-yard pickup becomes a gain of more than 40. Falk down inside the 5, 3rd and goal for the Patriots. From the 5, Brady looks, decides to try to go up the middle, thinks he can get into the end zone. Matt Milano stops him just shy of the goal line. Patriots can elect to go for the game-tying field goal here. There you'll see Brady barely short. He gets spun around at the goal line. Patriots decide to go for it, though. Give it to Falk up the middle. He is brought down shy of the goal line. 4th and goal falls short. Patriots drive down the field, come away with nothing. In that situation, Falk has been terrific, but I feel like Jim Nance should be the guy to get the ball in that situation. Patriots get back down the field here in the 4th. John Smith, a 45-yard field goal attempt. Smith hooks it to the left, though, so the Patriots, with another chance to possibly get the game tied, fail. It's still 13-10 Bills. 4th quarter action now. The Bills, and it's O.J. Simpson. Sean McDermott has them start in the shotgun. Simpson gets some momentum, finds a seam, dives his way in, and it's 20-10 Buffalo. Patriots have get back down the field here. Now, 10-point game in the final 2 minutes. They would need a field goal anyway, but the Patriots elect to go for the touchdown instead and then try to get the ball back, go for the field goal. The pass is incomplete. Patriots are denied 2 4th down stops inside the 10 by the Bills defense. The Patriots left empty-handed. Coach Raymond Berry would have to answer questions about that last decision in the postgame. One to swallow there for the Patriots. They fall in Buffalo, 20-10. We head to an NFC East rivalry, and this was expected to be a knockdown, drag-out affair all the more because of the rainy conditions, a torrential battle. In Pennsylvania, Giants and the Eagles made it to the NFC Championship game a year ago. The Giants falling short. Giants defense was fairly solid last year. Giants' problem was the Giants couldn't score. Giants hoping to get some help this season, more on the defensive side of the ball with Carl Banks. exploiting the fold. But Banks would get exposed the force that is Jalen Hurts. Hurts second in the league in MVP voting a year ago to Cleveland's Jim Brown. Hurts rattles this one off first play from scrimmage for the Eagles. He would bust a run here on the Eagles' second drive of the ball game. Hurts again jumps back, looking to throw. It opens up in front of him, and Hurts takes off again. This would be a theme on this opening drive. Jalen Hurts would carry the ball 5 times on the opening drive, a total of 61 yards, and it would culminate in this an 11-yard run. Another solid defensive rookie for the Giants, Dexter Lawrence, tries to chase Hurts down from behind, but unsuccessfully so. And the Eagles strike first with the touchdown. 6-0, not 7-0, as Sam Baker missed the extra point. And now it was on to the running back, LaShawn McCoy, who would have a huge day for the Eagles. Gets a heavy dose. He got plenty on that opening drive, splitting time with Hurts. He got more of the load here as the game went forward. He's also backed up by Wilmer Montgomery. Montgomery, if you remember, had to carry the load late in the season last year when McCoy got hurt. And Montgomery filled in very well for McCoy. So now they look like they can have a two-headed monster kind of setup, the way the Oilers do with Earl Campbell and Derrick Henry. McCoy and Montgomery get them into position to set up the pass, and it's Hurts over the middle for Jeremy Maclin. Maclin finds his way into the end zone, and it's 13-0 Eagles. Giants just can't get anything going, and the Eagles defense putting the hammer down. There's rookie William Thomas. Thomas would have a fine debut for the Eagles, joining an already solid linebacker. Nothing there for Joe Morris. Terry Collins dropping back to pass. He's brought down here by Corey Simon. So much attention goes to Reggie White on that defensive line. Simon breaks through for the first of his 2 sacks on the day. Eagles get back to work here. Dumped off. Retzloff, the tight end. He had a nice connection with Hurts last year. Hurts finds him 5 times in this one. More poor tackling by the Giants. Retzloff barrels through 2 guys, gets down close, and now he gets rewarded as Hurts finds him in the back of the end zone for the score. The route seeming to be on in Philadelphia. Hurts to Retzloff to make it a 20-0 Eagles lead over the Giants. We're still in the first half. We figured we'd head to halftime at that point, but not so fast. Eagles get back down the field in the final minute. Hurts finds Mike Quick for the score. Sam Baker would miss his second extra point of the game, though. It's 26-0. You figure the Giants are just going to want to get into the tunnel. They try to push it down the field in the final minute, though, and Collins is picked off by Wes Hopkins. Collins would throw 3 interceptions on the day for the Giants. Baker would miss a 51-yard field goal as the first half expired. Rough day for Sam Baker. The Eagles with a very comfortable lead here. That would kind of get swept under the rug here in this one. Second half, though, we head to the fourth quarter, a scoreless third quarter, and the Giants finally find their way onto the board. Joe Morris starts up the middle, nothing there. He pops one outside. Morris had been contained until that time. Eagles thinking pass on, as you know, given the extent of their lead, open up the running game a little bit. Morris takes advantage of that. Now here's Ron Johnson. Johnson would have a good carry on this drive. He'd take that dump off from Collins. And the Giants trying to make a push in the fourth quarter. It's a long road ahead of them, though. 4th and 10. Collins drops back. Terrific protection from his line. Finds Johnson again for the 4th and 10 conversion. 1st and 10. Giants move the chains. They're down to the Eagles 12. Collins looks end zone, and it's Hopkins again. Second pick of the game for Hopkins. Herm Edwards would have one as well for the Eagles. Collins and the Giants forced to walk off, the victims of a 26-7 defeat. 14 of 40 for Collins. Eagles defense just picked him apart. Morris 75 yards rushing, only 3 yards a carry though. Harry Carson, his usual terrific self for the Giants, 12 tackles there. Carl Banks in his debut, 3 tackles for a loss and a sack and a half. But the story for the Eagles, just ground and pound. McCoy ended up with 184 yards in the ground in this one, and he only had 2 carries of over 20 yards. But McCoy was seemingly getting 7 to 10 yards virtually every time he touched the ball. The Eagles defense makes it stand up. Hurts only throws it 19 times, but throws 3 touchdowns. 138 yards, he runs for another score, and the Eagles picking up where they left off a year ago. A terrific start in the rain in Philadelphia, 26-7. That will wrap it up from here. As always, hugely appreciative for your time tuning in to the broadcast. Be sure to bang that like button if you haven't as of yet. Subscribe as well. And certainly, this being the first one of these highlight shows that I've done here, certainly feel free to leave comments, feedback, stuff you'd like to see more of, perhaps. Anything along that line. I'm certainly open to feedback and would love to hear what people think of doing this highlight show, which is, again, a new thing here on the channel. Hope you'll join me for the next broadcast. Week 2 kicks off. Broncos and Raiders from Oakland. Lionel Taylor, Steve Atwater and company visit Howie Long, Marcus Allen, and the rest of the Silver and Black Attack. As always, friends, thank you. Be good to each other, and we'll talk soon. We'll see you from Oakland.